The Whiskey Brothers podcast is intended for an adult listening audience. If you find yourself easily offended, I guarantee this will do it.
They don't want no problem. Nah.
From Houston, Texas, the Whiskey Brothers podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Whiskey Brothers podcast, episode 962. I know, it's an odd one.
This feels weird hearing this here. Like hearing that intro here, not in a setup, no headphones.
Right, nothing.
Not holding nothing.
Not even sure that this works. We have, we are live. We are in, where are we right now? Grafenwoehr. Is that correct? Grafenwoehr. I'm joined by, of course, Trey Tutson, my co-host and cohort as always. And then not the first time on the podcast because we've done an episode before from, I believe, somewhere else overseas, I think. Did you sit in on, have you been on the Whiskey Brothers before?
I've sat in on a Whiskey Brothers from my studio in Austin.
You did the marathon with us, I believe. Yeah.
I did.
You guys should pass that, or you should hold it and use it that way. That'll
Yeah,
work.
that's a good idea. Okay.
We're working on some limited tech. We were in a bowling alley on Graf. We were in Germany, the birthplace of JR.
Very close. I was born in Würzburg and grew up in Bayreuth, which is about, as they call it, 70 clicks.
70K.
You know what that means, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's
that
the click
Swahili?
of the odometer going in kilometers.
Translating.
But I liked it. I think he was just trying to get a burro to go.
Oh, yow, yow. It has been it's been an incredible journey. We are tired to say the least. We started at the beginning of September, so I know we've been running a lot of back episodes for the folks at home. Paul Oda was on some stuff. I think Radu Bandar sat in.
Abby Volman.
Those episodes were hits. And then who else was there? Nick Palermo. We've had some really cool standout guests. We're happy to be out here. We're going to be back in the studio around the end of October. And then maybe through, who knows? I don't even know how to explain to people what's coming up in the next quarter.
Yeah.
And you don't either. Trey, we talked about this on the podcast before you left. You've never left the United States prior to this. Never really left the Gulf Coast except for a sojourn to LA. And then here you are in Germany after Poland and Belgium. First thoughts?
Well, dude, it was nothing that I obviously expected. Like you told me, you was like, lower all expectations,
right?
And just come out here. And one, I didn't expect to see. I gotta say this off bat. I didn't expect to see this many white people. Like I didn't know that I would be. I didn't know I had a limit. Like I didn't know that I actually need conversations with people of color.
Trey's used up all his data.
I was going to just add to that. You realize there was a guy back in the 40s that tried to make sure of that, right? I just thought I'd add that.
Yeah, I can't imagine how this part of the world got that way.
Yes, I'm aware of Genghis Khan.
Yeah, how did you know I was talking about him, man?
JR's people, you can't see the resemblance.
But yeah, just meaning I didn't know a conversation with people of color was necessary for me. I had no idea. It's been cool hanging with y'all on the bus and everything, but there is moments where I'm the only thing that we have sort of in common is that we're all comics. And then there's things I want to say that nobody is. It's funny or it's a interesting observation, but there's no true connection.
It's a cultural reference that won't have. I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like growing up in a house full of women.
Yeah, exactly. And being an only boy, yeah. So
I love the fact that we walk around and a lot of these places. If somebody's giving him the look eye, like look him dead in the eye, he goes right into hello, and he wants that engagement, and he keeps asking, me for different phrases in German, and my German is for shit, and I'm like telling him the wrong things half the time, but on purpose,
It's been really fun to watch. You guys have Trey has an affinity for learning stuff, and
absolutely,
and it's amazing to me. You came out here with a little bit of the your household German and the desire, like kind of the way I speak Spanish. It comes back if you're around it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's been coming back for you, but I've been watching you you teach him a lot, and some of it's not the best thing to be teaching him.
No, absolutely. I taught him how to say, "Don't get that jizz on the sofa." But
which is Trey? Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Exactly what I was gonna say.
Can we sample that? That's
Ted,
a beat.
Don't even no.
Ted Zappa.
Yeah. Yeah, Ted Zappa. Ted fucking.
No, Frank Zappa.
Yes, thank you. I would. Man, oh man.
I really didn't know.
Yeah, but the first time you did, and you messed with my head, and I was like, "This not Ted Zappa, goddamn it!" I was all,
Very German.
it's not Ted Zappa. No, it's been like when we first landed in Berlin, and he was walking around. His eyes were just so wide open, and I could see it, and he was trying to read the signs, and I would teach him what the sound of pronunciation E before I is different from I before E kind of sounds, and.
I like how we just sat next to the entire carnival.
Did we stand for this hockey game?
Did you see that? And the home of the Braves, and then the air hockey.
Excuse me, I gotta stand for the hockey
Put
game.
our hand over our hearts real fast.
Take your hats off, gentlemen. Sir, please stop kneeling.
But yeah,
You just kneel before an air hockey
you
game?
know how it is.
That is a fair question. Did the one black guy in the NHL kneel before the national anthem in any of the hockey games?
Actually, this was really dope.
Because you watch hockey.
So it's only 5. It's only like I think we got 6 black guys, and this is what's dope about the NHL is that the white players just joined with them. So there was never a moment where it was just one black dude.
That's awesome.
It was either the whole team or not at all. And in the NHL, the whole teams were doing it.
Is that because it's such a global community? Like it's Russians and Canadians and the amount of different people. Matter of fact, Americans make up probably that percentage of hockey players. So that's kind of a big FU, I guess. Is the
I think it was. I think it's. You know what I think it is. I think it's a league that it's kind of sort of grounded on diversity. And it's one of the leagues where they had to accept. They had to, with what you said, Russian, Ukraine, Canadian, all of that. So it's sort of like if we're a team, and this is your struggle, then let's all do it. What you would think football,
right?
You would think football would just join right in, but that's mostly made of two.
Totally. Yeah.
Of
two, and then like a couple of really big Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, and then as of late, they've been drafting Australians from
the rugby league
to be kickers.
That's interesting. So where is like you were just talking about that? As we classify ourselves into smaller and smaller groups, right? We come into a big thing. Where is that commonality? Like, at what point do you become all football? Like you were talking about, we're all white on the bus except for you, but we're all comics. So there's this. The tribe, like Chappelle was talking about in The Closer. But then at what point does that break down in NFL where you're like, oh, we're not all football players? How much diversity do you need before the diversity becomes the commonality?
Ooh, that's interesting. How much diversity do you need? I feel like
woman just beat her son's ass 5-1. I just want to point that out.
She's going to make a man out of him.
Yes.
I'm gonna go hide the puck here in a minute.
Break it in half.
Oh, it's driving you crazy? I think you need about 3.
3?
I think 3 because you need yeah, because then it eventually ends up you can break it down like this. All right, we're all football players, but I'm black and you're white. But then you can break it down to like we're all husbands, and then we're all guys that have probably brought our families out of poverty.
Right.
So then
men of the house,
sort of thing, and then that's when the common thing. Hey, we're all guys that broke generational curses, probably.
Right.
You know, like it ends up. I think you need like that, like it breaks down like that, and then because it's a difference,
and
right?
you need enough to check somebody, right? You need a rock, scissors, paper.
Yes.
To a checks and balance system, right? If it's just 2, it can get off balance.
It can get off balance
quickly.
easily.
I'll be the scissors.
Is that a lesbian joke, JR?
What is that?
How we're going to cover a lot of territory because we have a lot of stuff to get to.
Okay.
You didn't know Trey before this trip.
Only from the background of that one episode where we were recording, and I don't think we said 3 things to each other, but it was cordial enough, and hit it right off, you know, and it's been fun.
It's a cool buddy cop kind of dynamic. You guys, you were doing impressions of Trey. Trey was doing impressions of you. You guys.
All his involved was him limping around and farting.
Well, that's all you do.
I mean, we literally gave you your German war name.
Ich bin Limpenfahrten.
Yeah.
Herr Limpenfahrten.
Limpenfahrten.
Does that have an S?
with the umlaut and an H.
How many umlauts?
100%.
What has surprised you most about Trey? Did you expect anything differently out of him
Well,
than what you got?
Well, I do like how animated he gets when he is in a topic, and then it's just it's not surprising, or I'm not surprised, but I'm amazed how much he does know about certain like topics, and he'll just go until he finishes. And no, it's a good thing. I mean, like I learned a lot just listening to you. And it's just you're like a font of knowledge. It's just pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks, man.
That's a compliment.
No, I appreciate that.
What else do you know? So the podcast audience obviously knows you, but what else do you know deeply beyond comedy? What because you guys spent a lot of Polish time in a van together. Is it just stand up he knows, or did he? Is it?
No, he knows movie history. He knows he just knows people. I mean, it's not just stuff you read in a book. I mean, it's very, sounds like as crazy as he likes to portray his parents. We all have crazy parents, but it's an interesting angle to hear your parents. But sounds like they did pretty damn good with you. You know what I mean?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. No, they did it. They did.
Yeah, I feel like despite them, he did well.
That's probably, I'm just being nice because it's the first time on. You get out there, I'm like, motherfucker,
No, I mean,
like
they did a good job. You know what I mean? It's like how do you say, man? It's how can you put it? It's like if you whatever, you got a carpenter, you got somebody that's coming to build the house,
right,
or whatever, and they have all of these ridiculous tools that they're using,
like
right?
An awl,
they're
or
putting your
planer or
they're
some stuff.
putting your house together with a butter knife, whatever. They got their tools is crazy, but then like you go in there, you're like, all right, the floor is sturdy. They're like everything is.
That's how
it's built.
You built this with a corkscrew and some.
Yeah, but you're also like, this would have been much easier had you had the right tools. That's what it was like.
I think we're all an improvement on our parents in general. I mean, my mom and dad met here in Germany, and they live like military life ain't that easy. I mean, they got all this stuff that makes it look fun and shit. But
so for context, your mother German.
Yeah, mother.
Your father
was 100% German. Dad was 100% asshole. No, he was 100% Army. And when back in those days, the German women married the soldiers to get out of Germany. And it was still just a military life, You get on, you know what I mean?
Right.
We've been through this 100 times, but I love the fact that they fought for it. Like they.
I wish your dad was here right now because he would stop that. That was.
Dude, this is what's wild. I didn't want to say anything. It was nobody in here. It was dead quiet. And now we got an air hockey game and a pool game about to start.
I can live with a pool game. I'm respectful of a pool game because after the break, it's just people thinking and the occasional.
Oh, in the background, I swear to God, people think there's about 100 people. That's one kid.
That's one kid making
who's
all the
really
noise.
bad at it. He has not scored a goal.
But he's having a good time sucking.
That is true.
Like his mother. Hey-oh.
But yeah, like, hey, let's pick a quiet. This reminds me of whenever I go to eat by myself and there's nobody in the cafeteria, and then as soon as the next guy comes in, he sits right fucking next to me.
Right.
It's just like,
It's the guy who uses the urinal next to you.
hey Klinger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which to that guy, I just yell out the measurement.
Do you?
I just go.
6 feet?
I go, dude, 3.5, and I let him whatever 3.5 is to him, centimeters, inches, feet,
Ouch.
clicks.
Yeah.
That's
I-
click.
when I go to Home Depot, I'm always 6 pies everywhere I go, just in case.
This was the problem in the hotel the other day. We were staying at a hotel in Germany, and it was a resort spa kind of. These old motherfuckers in this hotel needed. I got on the elevator by myself, and these 70-year-olds just kept getting on. They just get in their old ass bathrobes, and they're gonna go down and sit in a hot tub and make old tea, and they gotta ride down with me. And you just want to tell it, you're like, y'all should not be this brave.
Yeah.
You don't know me. I could kill every one of you with just that fast. You don't know where I came from. I'm wearing this mask out of respect.
That's one of those ones where like when they get in the hot tub, like after it's done boiling, like you
Bubbles
walk,
just come out of other places when they get ill.
but you walk in and you cure your soreness by osmosis. Like you just walk by it and it's like,
And they're all like,
how much Bengay is in the air?
It feels good to peel my skin off in the water here.
You fucking, your nose gets numb. You're like,
just shedding. Like, how do you know how long you've been in there? You were wrinkly when you sat down.
that's like he said. That's when skin falls off.
Prunish.
That's when you know. All right, I'm missing a toe. About time to get out.
It was just cocoon. The whole hotel
Yeah.
was just Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, and you're lucky they had bathing suits on because this is Germany, man. Nudity is an option.
Bro, if they might not have under those robes, that might have been the purpose of the robe, and that is even more disturbing to me.
I don't mind old nuts. Like I don't mind old genitalia. It's.
I would not want to take that sentence out of context, but I did like that you're going with it.
I don't mind it. It's
When you say you don't mind it, it creeps me out. I'll be honest. I'm uncomfortable around antique genitalia.
I might be biased because I remember I had sex with that lady that was like 73 when I was delivering mail.
Right.
Now she looked 52 years old.
Hey, that's a big one.
You know what I
There you
mean?
go.
But she looked. But this is the thing. But like I'll say this: the part was still great. The look of it looked 73 years old.
So the interior of the home had been
you were
you were comfortable every time you walked out of the house. You were like, "Fuck,
Yeah,
this
she
house
looked-
needs to be repainted."
Yeah, but then you go in the house and you're like, oh, they redid everything.
Yeah.
Or not redid everything. It's just like everything held up.
We've been through
You know
this.
what it's like?
I've never been with anyone older than me. One time.
The best way to explain it, old vagina it's like those cathedrals we walked into.
Is there an organ joke here? Is there a too big for the organ joke?
You mean so they're gigantic, and spatial?
But just meaning
5 centuries old.
it holds up. That's basically what it is.
Do they have archways? Is it the construction of an old vagina? I feel
Many
like the new
people-
ones you couldn't get the same mileage out of. Do they talk about it like the old? Oh man, them old ones will go forever.
Yeah.
You get 400,000 miles out of an old one. These new ones, you got to turn them back in around 90.
Yeah.
But if you just see
Many have
one,
been in them, and they still hold up.
but do they?
I'm
I like a
telling you.
car that looks good. I don't want something rusty that'll get me from point A to point B. I want it.
Respect.
But do you have to pay €2 to go in it? I don't know if you remember that.
They were charging for it. Was a suggested
I couldn't do it. I was like, dude,
suggested fee.
I can't pay for y'all's party.
Yeah,
That's
well-
basically what it is.
I don't have
Like I was.
I don't have the religious attachment to the churches. To me, I go to these I go to churches, cathedrals, and mosques and bars, all for the same. It's human beings trying to figure life out. That's
1000%.
all it is. So I'm just walking in there to see how these people thought they'd figured life out. This was their way of making it all make sense at the time. And all these motherfuckers are wrong. I'm not paying €2 to watch wrong people.
I grew up in that Catholic church, and I used to sing in choirs in those exact kind of churches. And so coming back to it, I have a different angle on religion again because I've grown up and figured shit out more clearly for myself. But it was a good discipline at the time as a child, and then as the world reveals how fucked up that church really is, it's like, I don't even want to claim, being, but you can't just go, I'm not a Catholic anymore. It's like the mob. I can't get out, I think it's like blood in, blood out.
100%. Yeah,
That's fair.
100%.
And so even that, I'm like, I just paid the respect to it. I was like,
Is there a separation? I don't want to cut you off. Is there a separation amongst like the religious sometimes where you go, you know what, this part isn't for me anymore, but there's also this brotherhood or this kindred. Like I'm part of this thing. I was part of this thing. This is still kind of my thing.
I like that I can go into that church and know that before I was in here, it was a church. And when I leave here, it's going to be a church. Like these mega events that happen at mega churches that happen all
I saw
across the
Van Halen where
Right.
at Lakewood.
Exactly.
So
2 weeks ago, fucking it was a metal concert or whatever.
And now
Pantera
they're
played where Holstein is playing.
That's a strong
you know?
thought. I never thought about that.
You know, if American churches had these kind of acoustics, they'd stay rock venues.
I mean, at least the people at a metal show know they're being conned. You know?
That's funny. You brought up something like bringing that up, where you're saying how the separation of it. When we first came out here, and you were telling me your mom was German and this,
Yeah.
and you were telling me how your mom, she wasn't really like
Over the top religious.
or not just the religion part. She just wasn't whatever. You say your mom didn't really care for a bunch of races, but when she saw Sidney Poitier or when she saw a black dude, she would glow up and she would light up.
Because those were actually, I think it wasn't she didn't like them. She'd never been around. black people.
Yeah.
And so she had no reference point. But when she saw Sidney Poitier on TV, it was like my dad couldn't peel her from the TV, from the screen. She's like, get out of the goddamn way.
Yeah, I'm watching this guy. Yeah. So, but you had told me that, and I was making a pure race. I was making a sort of a Nazi, like a pure, which probably got something to do with that pure race, and you gave me a good lesson on that split. It never dawned on me that there were Germans that didn't want to be a part. I just kind of lumped everybody in
and most
from my teaching. But when you explained that to me, you told me this awesome story about how your mom spit at them and the whole thing, and they put her in jail.
Yeah, my
grandmother,
grandmother, but the whole family was on the run from that movement, which and at that point, if you weren't for the movement and you got sick, you weren't getting penicillin, you weren't getting a hospital bed, you weren't getting anything. You were just left to fend for yourself.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing that makes me proud of my mom's heritage, how they fought for what they got. How they fought to keep what they had. Yeah. And she was one of the rare ones that made it out of all that shit without being part of and the the hand up bullshit and all that. I'm not gonna do that. But so that's when we were at the wall, that tripped me out. Like I didn't want to be there, but I had to be there. Does that make sense?
Your father manned Checkpoint Charlie.
Oh yeah, they used to guard Checkpoint Charlie, which went down in '89. That's where the wall was, but they'd guard it, and it was, my dad would go out. He'd go up for 5-6 days, and that was his job. Just sitting there going, halt,
Halt. Wow. But from that story, that I connect that with what you're saying about with the church, where you go like, I know that this in this thing, there's all of these terrible, but not every one of these is like this.
We get so binary with our thoughts on everything. The church is this, this race is
together.
this, Germans were this, white people are. We all. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. It's very interesting to come out here and see the different perspectives and hear the old stories, and then also to see. I mean, it's interesting to me. Like, imagine X amount of years ago. Like now, this is probably the most diverse Germany's ever been, and Trey's literally counting black people. Like
because this is, and the only reason is that okay, so it was like stages. I was happy to just be see everything, and this was new and everything. And then it was wonderful just to sort of see the revelation of assimilation. Like, it is the same. It is, right. No matter where you go, people doing the same thing, just speaking a different language and moving. That was great. Mm-hmm. And then I started trying to see myself in some of these people. Like, meaning just action-wise, just on a human scale. Okay, then I did that. Then by that time, I am just over. I've just seen too much of it. I've just seen too much of not me.
When we started, he's all like, "If I disappeared, they got me."
They got me.
Now he's like, "If I disappear, I'm getting some time by my motherfucking self."
I thought it'd be like, "If I disappeared, I am now a sergeant."
That's
yeah. So when we did that, when we were in Berlin, it was 9 black women that was like on a girls trip.
Oh, I thought you were saying no black women.
Can I interject by asking you something? Have you noticed something as you go further south into Bavaria? I will add to that, and that you don't have to answer. I'll answer for you. You will see a lot more black soldiers and black citizens the further you go, because brothers love Bavaria. and you're gonna see that. You're gonna feel more at home, I think, and even your audiences. I mean, last night you had a great showing. The entire fucking bar staff was rolling.
Yeah.
They were loving
You crushed
and
it last
saying
night.
stuff
That was
like,
beautiful.
He ain't wrong.
Yeah. So
I was loving that, and we were both sitting back there listening to it. They were just.
So that's also been the thing of like having all these things I want to say, but having to pay attention to who I can say this to.
So what's that like? Because we're used to. I'm always fascinated in this perspective. We're used to the unfiltered nature of stand-up comedy, right? You pop into the secret group, or you pop into the Velvet, or you pop into wherever. It's carte blanche. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And then this certainly comes with parameters. There's the stuff that's always off the. You can't talk about politics in the way that seem to be so commonplace in comedy, but it's off the table because of the chain of command. So you're talking to people who ultimately answer to whoever is the president. So having that off the table, having some kind of your hands tied behind your back a little bit, are you ready to explode as soon as you get home and just?
No, actually, this has been much appreciated because that freedom that we had, I felt like it helped me develop a lot of bad habits because you're able to, because you have whatever, it's harder to discipline yourself to not rely on dirty or whatever. And because of having that, if it's like, all right, if I have something that I want to go off, I need something to sort of break up I
got 9 bullets in this gun.
Yes.
Versus.
And I got to use them wisely. Exactly.
Versus I have an academy here.
Yes.
Good point.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's been, for me, it's been very helpful because if I want to bring up something, I have to make sure that I carefully word it and present it right and make sure that it's still palatable. So it's just, the harder part is just not being able to talk about things that's I'm really feeling.
Right.
Because you look out there and it's like you said, I'm counting black people. I'm like, it's 8 of us. That's not going to be enough noise. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's 8 out of 200, it's like I
Right.
need about 30 black people.
And it's funny to watch him go, oh, my brother, how you doing? Man? I'm from Oregon.
What's been well, we wrap this episode up. We're all with how fast time goes. Favorite moments thus far?
Wow.
I know that's
You wanna go first
a
or you
big
want me to go
question.
first?
I think my favorite moment was just landing in Warsaw and seeing a city that's been so fucked up, so bombed, and so like obliterated, build itself back. That gave me hope for almost every city that I was going to go to. It gave me hope for people. Like I love to see that tenacity, and it was
Poland has rebuilt itself.
Stubborn. I don't fucking care. And then you get to Germany, and like, we don't like the Polish. And you're like, you know what? You ought to respect them, though. They came out of a trash can and built a fucking beautiful city.
Yeah, man.
And their food is cheap, so
Everything
fuck you.
there is so inexpensive.
I love it, dude.
It's that
But that was my favorite thing, was landing in Warsaw and just seeing society trying to be like normalized.
That's not what when you think of Warsaw and you think of
No.
all the old flyover stories and the bombings and the tanks
No,
rolling through.
I think of Brooklyn when I moved to Brooklyn and Greenpoint. That was the old Polish community. And I just spray paint everything, just desolate, and everything looked bombed. And you think of Warsaw, you think of just caved in buildings, and it
pretty
just
immaculate.
looked freaking awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Let's put this one in the can. JR, any parting thoughts before we get out of here? We're gonna be doing a lot more with you along the way.
No, I'm just excited to be part of the Whiskey Brothers right now. This was awesome, and I've always been a big fan, and it's just cool to be like way out of our element and doing it overseas.
It's officially an episode now. Dude, I'm looking forward to getting you as you roll back through Houston. Lots of carnival trips down to the coast, which means you're rolling literally right by the studio on your way up and down. So we're gonna squeeze you back in. The next one we're gonna do with lots of whiskey. This feels weird. Not done it.
And more Morgan Freeman impressions.
No. Please tell everybody goodbye. Can't wait to see you like Sling Blade.
All right, then. Listen, y'all be good. Good to see you. Take care. All right, then.
We'll see you guys on another episode soon.
They don't want no problems. Nah.
Music provided by Scarface. Thank you for listening to yet another excellent episode of the Whiskey Brothers Podcast, the world's funniest podcast ever. The Whiskey Brothers Podcast was made in America by Americans, mostly in and around the Houston area. All content copyright the Whiskey Brothers. This concludes our broadcast day. Goodbye.